Right, let's talk about something that nobody wants to talk about in the electric car thing, which is the biggest problem that I have with it is range. And you might say to yourself, well, you live in a city, you don't really need a lot of range, and electric vehicles are for everyone. And I'm going to tell you right now, they are not at this point, and they probably won't be for a very long time. So let's talk about this range thing and get it out there. So the thing, I was looking into electric vehicle because the gas prices are going up, and I drive a lot, but I do a lot of long range driving, so I had to figure out whether it could be worth it or not. So like they came up with the ID4 Volkswagen, which is great because I needed the SUV back for more stuff I carry. I can't use a Tesla, so I was looking at that vehicle, and it has a 250 miles, and I think you can get up to 300-mile range with it. So I was talking to the salesman, and we're going over some of the stuff, and he's like, well, it has a 300-mile range, or whatever, 250-mile range, whichever one you're looking at, doesn't matter, still the same issue. So he says, I go, yeah, so what about when it's loaded full of stuff? He's like, well, it's going to go down quite a bit. So like if you have two people in it, the range is only 230 miles. Okay, well, that's still doable. Okay, then you put all your stuff in the back, and now it's going to be less than 200 miles. Then you add things like, oh, by the way, you're going through the Grapevine, going up north in Northern California. Oh yeah, I have to go up there. Oh well, when you add the weight and the additional person and going uphill, it's going to really change the range quite a bit. So that 250-mile range becomes like 100 and something very quick. So then I have to add in, okay, can I get it charged on the way, and how long does it take to charge? Which is actually pretty good. If you can find a level 3 charger, that's if you can find one and one's available when you get there, it's going to take, he said like 20 to 30 minutes to charge. Not bad. But when I kind of weigh this out, if I want to go from Southern California to Northern California and back, I start adding up how many times I'm going to have to charge it. Well, I'm going to probably spend 3 hours if I can find an available charger along the way. That kind of makes it impossible for me to do what I do. Like this little truck has a 500-mile range, and it doesn't really change when I go uphill because it's that old dirty diesel, which, by the way, could be biofuel, and it doesn't care. And this car has another 500-mile range or plus. You can do up to about 700 if you really are savvy. Let's talk about some other things that affect range, like the speed you drive. The range is figured out on an electric car based on a specific speed that you drive, and might be 65 miles an hour. I don't know exactly how they do it, but I learned a lot of this stuff from having an e-bike. So my e-bike has a 20-mile range on flat ground. If I go uphill, it might go down to about 8 miles. If I ride it in the dirt, it's never 20 miles. Won't go anywhere close to that. So what I'm saying is electric cars are based on efficiency, and they are only so efficient. So when you add in things like a rainstorm, let's say you're driving somewhere and you add in a rainstorm, now your wipers are working. And the other thing I have another question on, do they calculate the range based on whether you have the air conditioning on or not? Probably not. So you add on the air conditioning on in the hot day, you add on that you hit a rainstorm, and all of a sudden now your range with 2 people in the car and it fully loaded full of stuff gets down to 100 miles. I want to think about that for a second. Is that for everybody? What about people who live 100 miles from a city? What about people who live in rural areas who have to commute really far like that? And, what if their coefficient of drag is less because there's wind? Now you add all these things up, and the range becomes a major issue for a lot of people. There's just so many people who want to push electric cars to everyone, and really they're not for everyone. And that's the thing. There needs to be something else. Now, Volkswagen, the same company that makes the ID4 makes this old truck right here, had a great idea. It's called Blue Crude. And what they're doing is making a carbon neutral fuel from water and air. I don't know if this is continued because of so much push for the electric car being the solution for everything. Which obviously there's areas in the state of California even where if you're far enough away from a city, you might have sketchy power. Maybe the power at your house is kind of works sometimes, kind of doesn't some other days. So it's a good idea to outlaw generators for those people. That's what the state of California has done. 2027, none of these are being sold new. You know, you guys who want to push these things on everyone, listen, it's not a one-size-fits-all world. You live in a city, try living in the country, out in the sticks or something for a while, and see what it's like for them. Before you make laws to make all of these things electric, and then when the electric power goes out, how are you going to charge this thing to fix the electric power? And then when the electric power goes out in 2045, which we're going to have less and less problems with that, right? I mean, we're not going to have power outages, right? When we're using more of it and taxing the system a lot more, probably it's going to work just fine. And in 2045, all trucks will be made electric for long range. That makes all the sense in the world. I can see it already. Big cities trying to get their food, power outage, trucks are stuck somewhere, no food. That's a great idea. So the old thing is, well, technology will catch up with us. Yeah, we'll see about that, won't we? All of a sudden, some scientist is going to come up with a great new battery that's going to last forever, that's going to be cheap enough for you to buy it. I wouldn't count on that. So when you city people want to make laws for people who live not in the city, you know, you really want to stop and think about the people who don't live in the city, who you're making the laws that don't benefit them. And maybe think about where they got to come from and what it's like for them before you go and make these crazy new laws. You know, I'm not in denial about climate change or any of that stuff. I'm just saying that you need to make things fair for everyone, and that's not what's happening in California. The only way to change this, vote for the other side. Maybe it'll help out. Talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.